Good evening. A few minutes ago, the indirect talks involving Portadown Orangemen and Garvaghey residents broke up. A statement from Downing Street said the talks had been useful and made some progress. A range of informal contacts would now take forward some of the issues discussed until the indirect contacts could be resumed. Our first report this evening is from Ivan Little.
Outside a community centre on the Garvaghey Road tonight, residents and politicians waited anxiously for news of what was happening at the proximity talks in Armagh, and the reports coming back to them from the Armagh council offices were confusing to say the least. Some suggested the talks had broken up, others said they'd been adjourned, while other people said Brendan McKenna and his colleagues were on their way back to Portadown. But at the proximity talks, a number of nationalists said they were still inside meetings and they were prepared to stay there until midnight or longer if necessary. According to Downing Street sources, the talks were formally adjourned at 7:30 this evening, and it was said they would reconvene after the 12th of July celebrations, which take place on Monday. The sources said some progress had been made, but that the matter was still unresolved, with major differences between the two sides. But no sooner had that been said than the Orange Order added to the confusion by announcing that they had, at 5 o'clock this evening, applied for permission for a fresh parade down the Garvaghey Road tomorrow at lunchtime.
We've also put the proviso on the application that any problems that may occur if this application is turned down by the Parades Commission will thereby become the responsibility of Alistair Graham and the Parades Commission. We've nothing to suggest that they made it more favourably than at any other time. It's just we feel that there needs to be some further steps made for to remove Portadown District from the hill of Drumcree, enable them to get back to their dispersal point, and this is the way we feel it needs to be done.
Breeze Rogers of the SDLP said she was concerned about the Orange Order move.
It would give rise to quite a bit of concern in this community, because it seems to me that they have only just entered into dialogue. The dialogue is far from concluded, and this development will not create an atmosphere conducive to that dialogue. I think it would be much more helpful if there was a total cessation of the intimidation and threats, and that the dialogue would be taking place in an atmosphere more conducive to a constructive and positive outcome.
At Drumcree tonight, crowds have started to build up again. At one point this evening, RUC officers pointed a hose at one demonstrator who'd broken through a barricade. It's been revealed that 475 plastic bullets were fired at loyalists last night, injuring 20 people, one of them critically. A young woman from Newry has also lost an eye. But the police officer in charge of the operation has defended his officer's actions, and he's warned that someone could be killed if the rioters aren't curbed.
Well, it is a grave situation, and I must say that I can't walk away from this and say that the Orange Order has organised this protest, and effectively the Orange Order has lost control of this protest. But the reality of the situation is that these people are now using the crowds, using children to cut the wire, young people. They're using the cover of the crowds to come forward on our lines. They're using makeshift barricades, and effectively they're trying to get within range where they can kill police officers. I cannot in any way condone that, nor will I ask the police officers or the soldiers under my command to stand back and take that, and I cannot, and they must be able to defend themselves. I can only hope that those who would claim to have control of this situation will stop it, because someone is going to be killed. Of that there is no doubt.
To underline the point, the RUC put on show the remains of a blast bomb which injured 4 policemen on Thursday night, and another intact device which didn't explode. Ivan Little, UTV Live, Drumcree.
Violence peaked last night at Drumcree when 2 gunmen fired shots at the police lines. One hooded gunman appeared to be carrying a long rifle. As you can see from this police video, he fired twice before disappearing into the crowd. The police have condemned the attack in the strongest possible terms. They say the lives of their officers and of the army were seriously put at risk. It appears that the Parades Commission will have to meet tonight if it considers tonight's orange application to be valid. Normally, organisers are required to give 28 days notice of a parade, but in exceptional circumstances, the Commission can call an emergency session, but only in cases where it considers the reasons given for the application to be worthy of consideration. And in the last few minutes, the Orange Order has issued a statement about the talks. It said it was regrettable that they had not convened until the afternoon and that they were disappointed that there had not been any satisfactory outcome. The statement said that the Order remained committed to involvement in a credible process aimed at achieving a permanent and just solution. The Order also urged its members to remain calm. Well, we can now go live to Drumcree and our reporter Ivan Little. Ivan, we've just seen your report. Have you anything further to add at the moment?
Well, Paul, it's been a very confusing couple of hours this evening, to say the very least. Around about 7:30, we were told by Downing Street sources that the talks in Armagh had been formally adjourned. They said the talks had broken up, not broken down, and that they would be reconvened after the 12th celebrations on Monday. We were then told that Brendan McKenna and his team were on their way back to Garvaghy Road. Then we were told no, they weren't. They were staying in the talks. They would stay in the talks until midnight if necessary. But then came the announcement of the Orange Order's plans to walk down the Garvaghy Road tomorrow morning. The Parades Commission are, I understand, going to meet very shortly on that, and their ruling will be announced tomorrow. The talks ended, I'm told, within the last few minutes. The Downing Street sources said that some progress had been made and that informal contacts would be maintained and that they would get back into these proximity talks. But very, very short time ago, I was told that Brendan McKenna has said that he regards the plans by the Orange Order to have this march tomorrow as an insult. He says they won't be going back into the proximity talks, but he says they still want to have dialogue with the Orange men.
Was there a surprise, Ivan, at the application tonight for the parade to go down Garvaghy Road tomorrow?
Well, it certainly came as a bolt from the blue for us. We hadn't been expecting it, but I understand that it was actually lodged at 5 o'clock. There's some suggestion that the Orange Order are trying to portray this as their way of ending this crisis. They're saying, let us walk down tomorrow, and that's the end, and we can continue the proximity talks. But it was a surprise, yes.
Very briefly, Ivan, what's happening there right now?
Well, the crowds, as you can see behind me, are building up again. There's been very little trouble so far this evening, but given the scale of the crowds, and we're just crossing our fingers and waiting to see what happens. We're not quite sure what will happen tonight. OK, Ivan, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you indeed. Meanwhile, loyalist areas of Belfast are quiet tonight as people wait to see the final outcome of the talks initiative. Niall Donnelly has been getting the views of people in Sandy Row and in East Belfast.
A children's street party in Belfast Sandy Road this evening as part of the local festival. A huge contrast with the scenes of rioting on these streets earlier in the week. Organisers say the party atmosphere is an attempt to lower tension.
Things are still tense. People are waiting for the outcome of the talks. And obviously, people in Sandy Row support the Orange men stand, but they're all waiting to see, hoping something can be resolved, some sort of compromise can be worked out. You know, everybody would love to see a breakthrough. Love to see some sort of compromise where both sides can be reasonably appeased. How that's going to come about now, something for the politicians, I don't know.
Across in East Belfast, peaceful road protests continue. Some of the women are taking a more hardline view.
I say no surrender because there's not enough of that being said. No surrender, and don't give in to them because they have no right to tell us where we can walk and where we can't walk in our Belfast town, nowhere in Ulster.
And at the Hollywood Arches Women's Peace Camp this evening, a feeling that perhaps today's talks could have gone further.
The mood is very disappointing that the Orange men didn't get the verdict of yes, they could walk down Garvaghy Road because it is the King's Highway and the women have been sitting out here supporting them all the way and we intend to stay here. Tony Blair has really sold us down the river this time, and Mo Molan and Brendan McKenna. He has put the residents of the Garvaghy Road in danger too.
And at another road blockade, similar feelings are being expressed. They say there's some limited progress at the talks. How do you feel about that?
Limited nothing. There shouldn't even be talks. We should be able to walk on the Queen's Highway. It's our right.
So as far as you're concerned, the only solution is for Orange men to get down Garvaghy Road?
Certainly. Yes. If not, there shouldn't be Orange men.
There shouldn't have been all this hassle. A 10-minute church parade down the road should have been quite adequate. We shouldn't have had all these talks or anything else. Anybody should be allowed to walk the Queen's highways and byways without any hassle.
So, with no definite result from the talks initiative so far, people in loyalist areas of Belfast remain apprehensive. But so far tonight there has been no violence, and it seems there is a deliberate attempt to keep these protests peaceful and within the law. Niall Donnelly, UTV Live, on the Castlereagh Road.
A woman who was driving her 6-year-old child to hospital had her car attacked as she tried to get through a loyalist roadblock in Grey Abbey this afternoon. The woman was verbally abused and had the sides of her car badly damaged as she passed through a protest at the Portaferry Road. Police said she had to turn back and seek medical help at home. A short time later, another motorist's car was attacked because he failed to stop and read a leaflet that he'd been handed. The 2 people seriously injured by plastic baton rounds during violence at Drumcree last night are still being treated in hospital. A 26-year-old man is in intensive care in the Royal Victoria, where he's described as critical, and a 21-year-old undergraduate from Newry is now stable after extensive surgery on a facial wound. It's understood she's lost an eye. The RUC has appealed for information on the whereabouts of a 15-year-old youth who's been missing from his Belfast home for 6 days. Craig Douglas from Clarawood Park in the east of the city is 5'10" in height, of stocky build and with dark brown hair. When last seen, he was wearing a dark blue T-shirt, jeans and black boots. Anyone with information is asked to contact the police at Willowfield. Well, that's UTV Live on this Saturday night, July the 11th. ITN is on the air throughout the night, and our next local bulletin is at 12:45 tomorrow afternoon. From all of us in the newsroom for now, good night.
And now the UTV weather. Planning for today and tomorrow with Progressive, Northern Ireland's building society.
Hello. Well, if you were disappointed with today's weather across Northern Ireland, then you're definitely not going to like Sunday's rain. Looking ahead then, at the moment, it's mainly dry, but cloud will thicken, bringing rain from the south at around midnight. During the rest of the night, the rain will spread to all parts, becoming heavy with mist and fog over higher ground. The winds will freshen too, but temperatures shouldn't drop much below 12 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead, so tomorrow is expected to start off dull and very wet, with further bursts of heavy rain during the morning, especially towards County Antrim. The afternoon will remain mostly cloudy, but there's some hope of brighter skies appearing late in the afternoon as rain mostly dies out. It'll be a cool and breezy day, with temperatures faring no better than around 16 degrees Celsius, that's 61 degrees Fahrenheit. We leave you now with a look at the UTV weather summary.
If you would like more information about the weather for today and the week ahead, you can call us on 0891 50 55 50.